Historical Society. 2 years ago, the Danville Historical Society purchased this cape, which is a prototypical New England cape facing south, gaining maximum exposure to the sun for passive solar heat. It is of mortise and tenon post and beam construction with plank walls. It probably was a small village farm at one time, allowing for subsistence agriculture to allow the Samuel Choate family, which lived here, the opportunity to provide its own food and to subsist off the land. Choate was also a cabinet maker and used this property for his cabinet shop. As we enter the house, we enter the kitchen, which is a typical 20th century kitchen. We chose not to modify that since we want the house to be used. Our goal has not been to restore the house, but to make it functional for historical society purposes. It's a combination of restoration as well as of renovation. We've attempted to use period hardware to give it that look, as well as to be sensitive to restoration from the standpoint of replacing windows based upon original windows. 2 12/8 original windows which remained in the house, and we have had windows reproduced for the remainder of the house. We have purchased reproduction chandeliers which mirror chandeliers of the period. We included an elliptical arch leading from the kitchen into what was at one time the summer kitchen, the purpose being to open that area so that when we have large groups, we've learned that people generally like to stand in the kitchen and visit. These floors are wide spruce boards, which were characteristic of floors in homes of this period. We actually had these, we purchased them from Joel Currier, who is a descendant of some of the original owners of this house. They were harvested here in Danville. The door entering the keeping room at the base has a heart cutout which can be opened. The purpose being to provide a draft for the fireplace, since when this door is closed there is not adequate draft in the room to provide air for the fireplace. And by opening the heart, it allows additional air to enter the room. Fireplace is a characteristic cooking fireplace with a crane. It was built by Steve Townsley of Plumb Line Masonry, who is a resident of Danville, Vermont. It's based on an early 18th century, early 19th century design. This fireplace would have been used for keeping the room warm as well as providing a space for cooking. The hearth is wider than most hearths on a fireplace for that purpose, so that when a woman was cooking, she would have a wide space to work on, and it would have allowed for large fires to provide the necessary heat for cooking. Two purposes. It's a very large door, which was characteristic of doors in early keeping rooms, to allow for the early settlers to bring in a full animal carcass in the fall. This door has a beautiful 18th century spade latch, which would be typical of the period, although this house was not built until 1830. Because Vermont was a backwater area, a lot of the period hardware extended into the 19th century, although it was 18th century in design. The candle sconces are reproduction candle sconces, which would have been characteristic of candle sconces that might have been used in the late 18th, early 19th century. They're mirrored sconces to accentuate the effect of the light and to cast it into the room. We're now entering the room which has characteristically been used as the dining room for many years. The room is very light as it does face south and has the southern exposure. The map which you see of the town of Danville is from the Beers County Atlas, and the engravings are from the same. There are two properties that were located here in Danville. Broadview Farm still remains. Architecturally, it looks quite different today than it did at the time that the engraving was done. However, it is a beautiful home, which is today a bed and breakfast. I'm standing in front of the front door at this point. It's a very inviting entrance. Lucian Avery created a beautiful bolt for us for this door, and the hinges accentuate the form of the door. It is a characteristic Christian door with raised panels. It was made by Sally Fishburne, who also made the windows for the house, the reproduction windows. The front parlor of the house has the stark simplicity of rooms of its period, but at the same time is beautiful from the standpoint that it has a southeastern exposure with beautiful light. These chandeliers also came from Cranberry Hill.
Wow.
The doors have beautiful raised panels. I've replaced them with period hardware, which has been provided to us by Joseph Brennan from Peterborough, New Hampshire. This room would have been likely a boarding room in the early house. It has small dimensions. It would have been a small bedroom next to a larger bedroom. It would have been to have a room that was convenient either for a very young child to sleep in or for an elderly person who needed care. This bedchamber will be used as an office. We have kept some of the 20th century cabinetry in the closet area in the room for storage of office materials and for archival materials. These hardwood floors were laid later in the 19th century over the original wide spruce boards. The original floors do remain on the second floor, and we'll see those when we go up to that area. In redoing the house, one of the things that we have done is make the house handicap accessible to meet ADA requirements. So the doors to the bathroom and doors leading into this area were all widened to 30 inches to allow a person in a wheelchair access to this area. The bathroom was also created as a handicap accessible. The doorway leading to the second floor is a narrow stairway. The two rooms on this level would have been bedchambers. They remain very much in the original state.
So that leads into the L?
It does, yeah.
Isn't that a little strange door?
There's a closet in between. I love it though.
Yeah.
To me, before all this was done to it, it was a beautiful village house, but it's become an extraordinary village house as a result of returning it to many of the original period features. Magnificent light. Once again, the floor is an original floor. Just for members of the community who may have early artifacts that they would like to donate to the Danville Historical Society to come forward with those artifacts so that we can furnish the house with period furniture and period artifacts.